Hello. It is week 10. I tried doing a little bit of like homework prior to starting this video, but I don't know. I'm kind of drawing blank on how to just start it, so I'm just gonna do it. Okay. I guess first things first. A little catch up on how I am with myself and my walk with God. I would say how I am with myself is it's getting a little better, I want to say. I think, like the holiday seasons are kind of wrapping up, sort of. So things are kind of bouncing back, I think. I would hope. I just had a Bible study just the other night. I think it was Monday night that I had a Bible study, and it was really good. I got to pray a lot and be around my friends, and it was nice. It was really nice to get back into it. I feel like for so long I just kind of been letting the distractions win, like running and gym and just really anything and everything was kind of keeping me away from God. So I'm trying to keep God first. It's 7 a.m. This is something new that I'm trying. My body has been kind of tapping out. Not necessarily like I've been doing good with the gym, but stacking my runs on top of my weightlifting is really taking a toll, like on my legs. Like I've not been enjoying running lately, so it's really just been hard. So I'm trying to switch it up. So Wednesdays I'll start with a run, and then maybe later in the day, well, no, not maybe, but later in the day I will do my run. My walk with God it was honestly not great. It was honestly pretty bad. I was getting back into like thoughts of old habits and stuff, and I always kept in mind the saying where those who suffer till the end will prosper, and it was really difficult, and I feel like, I don't know, like, man, honestly, I thought it's so funny. I woke up so early, like kind of getting ready, like to do all this, and I still like feel like I have nothing. Like I'm kind of going blank right now. I guess, okay, I'll tie it a little bit into like the message today. And the name of the message is The Sinner's Need of Christ. And I feel like that's what I stopped doing. I kind of just took control again of my life, and that's not what's encouraged in Christianity. Like with Christ, you need to keep him in mind with everything. I remember growing up, my mom, she used to tell me like that it was always God first and then family, and I was, hearing that as a kid, you're like, that's crazy to tell your kid, like, what are you talking about? I'm adopted, so growing up, my family always came first, like, and I think that it kind of bled into like how I am as a person now, whereas like as long as my family is good, like I didn't really care like what happened to other people, and I was like that well into adulthood, so here now I'm like don't be telling me that, like, but I didn't understand it at the time, and I understand it now, like that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to like remember to put God first in everything that I do, and in a sense it does help reassure me a lot, like it does make me just feel better. I know a lot of people, like especially me, like when I first started like praying, it does just feel like you're talking to yourself, like kind of how I am now, like no one's watching these videos yet, like I'm essentially just talking to myself, which is fine, like I think, looking from the outside in, a lot of things do seem, we would call it radical, versus like, I think other people that are like not following the walk of God, I guess you could call it delusional, which I totally understand. I sometimes even still get those feelings, like at church or with myself, or like any content that I see online. I'm just like, like, from my comprehension, there's always kind of like a limit, I guess you could say, like, or like a bar that you don't surpass. But like with God, there is no bar and there is no limit, and you kind of like learn to understand and respect that, I suppose. So today's message, I was at Denny's today. I've been huge on pancakes lately, so I woke up at 5 a.m. to go to Denny's to carbo load, and I'm just kind of trying to burn time right now. Like, like I was just there like an hour ago, or maybe like 45 minutes ago, so I'm in no rush to like start running. Also, which it's not okay. So like LA has been dealing with like this fog for some reason, and it's been pretty gnarly. But I get here and it's like a normal day, which is so weird. Like, so I got into the 2 freeway, and then I was going up onto the 134, and I just like cleared like all the fog. And anyone that's in LA, like, you know what I'm talking about. Like, the fog lately has been bananas. Like, it's been like so thick. You could like smell it and like feel it. Like, yesterday when I was at work, like I was even having like trouble breathing. Like, it's gnarly. But I get here and I was like, man, this is low-key gonna be kind of a spooky run. Like, it's gonna be like so foggy, like, and I was low-key really excited. And I'm all, that's clearly not the case now. Like, there's sun and like everyone's having a good time, like walking. And anyways, I'm rambling. So yeah, I was reading, I brought my Bible to Denny's, and I was reading it, and the title of the message is The Sinner's Need of Christ. And it just goes over, first bullet point, what was man's original nature when God created him? And he was talking about how we are created in God's image, and I think I was touching up on that a little bit last time, on how, like, I kind of think about what qualities do I get from God, like, or if I like something I naturally do is like, I'm very humorous, so I'm like, oh, like, that's cool. Like, do I get that from God? I get those thoughts, and then everything, that changed us from the image of God into sin was when Adam and Eve ate the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. Like, they started to understand like what good and bad was, and that invited sin into the world. And God cast them out. Now, like, there's a whole ordeal, like, in Genesis, I believe, don't quote me on that, but yeah, but then, okay, here's one that I did like. It's the 4th bullet point, and it goes, people today cannot be blamed for what Adam and Eve did. And it's not talking like literal, it's just like, it's like setting up like the scripture. It doesn't mean it literally. It says, why must we suffer the effects of sin? And it gives us Romans chapter 3, verses 10 to 12, and verses 23. And it goes, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is none that understandeth. There is none that seeketh after God. They are all gone out of the way. They are together become unprofitable. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. And I think that's pretty crazy. I low-key, like, I was eating my pancakes, and I thought that was low-key kind of wild to take in. Like, and it's true, like, we all do fall short of the glory of God. Anything and everything that is great in this world is thanks to God. And I feel like a lot of people, like, I want to say, like, if you're either like not following in the walk of God, or like you're kind of new, you kind of like, you kind of think like, oh, everything good about God is like what he gives me. You know, like, does he give me this job or this car or this relationship or etc., etc., you know? And really I come to realize like that everything good that God has given me is like the air, the sun, me being able to walk, you know, like those are like what he's given me. And I feel like a lot of the times people might be like, oh, okay, so what about like kids in like hospitals and stuff? And I feel a big misconception is like, I was definitely someone that would do this too. Like, I would take my frustration out on God a lot, like when I was not following in his walk, you know? I was always like, well, God's doing this, God's doing that, you know? Like, I was kind of putting the blame on God for like everything bad that was happening, you know? When really, like, it's like, well, we think about it, none of this would really exist if it weren't for God. But the freedom of the world is that, like, you know, we gotta take the bad with the good, good with the bad, you know? Like, that's just how it is, you know? Like, I don't believe that God is someone that like is implanting cancer into kids or like taking away people's ability to walk, you know, things like that. That's just how the world is, because like we can't think of it in a sense that like the world has existed for a long time, you know? And so, like, you know, if you think about it, like, I mean, I'm not trying to like sound like an expert here or nothing, but like the genetic pool, like it starts like there starts to be like bad things start getting into it, you know? Like in my, like maybe in my own genes, like I have high cholesterol, you know, like I have bad eyesight, you know, like things like that. And there's other extreme degrees, you know, to that, obviously. But I don't believe that God like just naturally created me like that, you know? I want to be grateful that like God's intent, what God did from, you know, in the beginning of time was he created me, created all of us in his own image, you know, beautiful, perfect, you know, great eyesight, great, you know, ability to walk upright, you know, things like that, you know, like smart, like things like that. And I feel like because of like just like the state of the world, like we also like to point the finger at God. And it's just like, well, you know, I feel like, I don't know, this might be a hot take, but I feel like a big thing that I see content wise these days is accountability, you know? And I feel like, you know, people are always like, state of the world is like this, people are doing that, you know? And it's like, well, you know, we have the freedom and the time to change that, you know? Like, it's not gonna like, you know, like people just want things like right now, right now, right now. And that's very, I get it, you know, like we live in a time where like we get all our information right now, but how life works is like things take time to change, you know? And you know that if you diet or if you work out, you know, like things take time to achieve, you know? Like, and that's especially how life works, you know? Especially like if you're trying to break traumas or you know, like certain things that your family does, you know, like things like that, you know, like all of that takes time, you know? Like it's not just gonna happen overnight, you know? Just like this isn't gonna like this hasn't reached anyone, and there's yet anyone to come to my run club, but like I'm not gonna stop just because like the results aren't here, you know, automatically. Like I do this because I want to, you know, like, and you should want, if you want change, you gotta like want it bad enough, you know? Like the same with your body, you know? Like if you're not like, and I always use like fitness as just an example because that's what I did for myself, you know? Everyone should use their own example for what's applicable. I hope I'm saying that right. Anyways, everyone, you know, oh man, I was on fire there for a second and I just like lost my train of thought. Anyways, change is not gonna happen very rapidly. Okay, yeah, you gotta want it bad enough, you know? It's like I think I got to a point with my fitness that I didn't even really like think about it, but it's not something that like I necessarily like think about because it's just part of my day now. But there are a lot of times where like working out, I'm just kind of like on autopilot, you know, like it's just part of my day, you know. And I guess like if you want to enact change, it kind of has to be like that. If you want to work on your patience or your anger or, you know, your depression or anxiety, like it can kind of fall under the same umbrella as that, you know. Like you you got to just like practice it, you know, because like what my lesson was telling me is that like because of, you know, the fall of Adam and Eve, we are now separate from God, you know. And you know, it's things in us like anger and depression and all these negative feelings that are just like, we have to practice ourselves out of that, you know, if that makes sense. Like it has to be something to be constantly apply every day, you know. It's like like how do I put it? Okay, I used to be big in partying, you know, like not even that long ago, you know. I was big on partying. It was just what I was accustomed to, you know. My friends would pick me up, and you know, right away, first thing was not like, hey, hello. It was, all right, do you guys want to go hit the liquor store? Like that's how it was. And it was like that for years, you know. So like it took a lot of time and a lot of patience and a lot of like self-love, you know, like to break out of that, you know. Like it didn't just happen overnight. You gotta like apply different things. Like I started, you gotta like learn. You gotta learn what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. So I realized that like, okay, I gotta like sleep early, because if I stay up late, I'm gonna get bored. I'm gonna want to like hang out and like do drugs and drink and like. So I was kind of just getting my way out of that. And I feel like this is gonna be kind of crazy to say out loud, but I feel like part of that version of me like kind of never like went away, if that makes sense. But I keep a lid on him, you know. Like I work out, I run, I like, you know, I do whatever it is I can to positively distract me, you know, like from those bad habits. But I think like in doing so, like you gotta be careful, because I went so overboard with these positive distractions that I felt like, okay, well, you know, like it was kind of taking me away from church, you know, and like showing up to church on time and stuff like that. And I started this is possibly the season that I'm going through right now, where I was thinking like, well, you know what, so long as like I'm at the gym, like, hey, I'm doing something positive, right? So like, what's the big deal, right? Like, and it can't be like that. Like, you know, we had to have God first all the time in everything that we do, you know. And it's like it's kind of a hard pill to swallow, especially when, you know, I was breaking out of these bad habits like before God, you know, like before I started going to my ministry. So it was kind of hard to like be like, I don't know, like just the type of person I am. I take a lot of pride in how you say, like I figured this out, so like I'm gonna really cherish it, you know. It means a lot to me because I figured it out, like I'm maintaining it, you know. But now like I kind of gotta like sweep that under the rug sort of, to like, you know, let God in. And it sounds like, it might sound crazy to some people and may not to others, but like that's just the season that I'm in, you know, where I find it difficult to like, you know, not have my hands on the steering wheel, you know. Like it's weird, you know. And like, I guess that's just a reality check of like, you know, like killing your ego, you know. You need Christ like for everything. And that's just something that you gotta kind of like remind yourself. You know, it took me a while to like even remember to pray before I ate, which, you know, again, to some people that might not be a big deal, but to some it might be a huge thing, you know. Like for me, I wasn't like going out of my way like to not pray. I would just forget, you know. Like normally when I eat, it's just like I'm coming from a workout, so I'm not really like thinking about it. I'm like starving and I just forget. I won't remember until like I'm like halfway through eating, and then, you know, I still like stop and pray, you know, like it's not like ideal, but it just is what it is, you know. Yeah, so it's just something that you need to apply every day. Like, we do need Christ all the time, every day, all day, every day, you know. But just apply it. It's like a muscle, you know. You gotta just practice it, you know. You're not just gonna get good at it out of nowhere, but like, it helps to, like, you know, have a system, have a community for sure, you know, like things like that, you know. Just like, just get radical with it, you know, like do what you can. Yeah, man, I was on fire for a minute. Anyways, all right, let's see. Man, it is low-key really chilly. It is really cold. I think I'm really hoping that today's run goes well. I'm gonna aim, God willing, God willing, he'll let me do 9 miles. I'm not sure. I'm really hoping, since I didn't work out legs today yet, that I can do 12. But we'll see. You know, we'll see. I feel like now's a good stopping point, you know. I hope everyone's having a great holiday season. I'm okay. I was really hoping I brought my my shoes. That would have really been bad. But there was one passage actually earlier today that I read. And it goes, actually I have it right on this card. Okay. Hebrews 12:6. Okay. Let's see. I guess I'll end with this. I feel like I really... Okay, here. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. And I just had it on my flashcard right here, and I was like, huh. I thought that was kind of cool. Kind of really like that. Honestly, I also didn't realize like how long that weed whacker was going on outside, so I really hope half my message was just not that in the background, because man, brother's going at it. Anyways, yeah, I think that kind of like sounded cool, you know, to hear. So, you know, I might drop a little Bible verse like at the end of like messages, you know, just things that I feel like are cool, or maybe might resonate a little bit with you. Like, you got to kind of think of it in a sense that, like, I feel like hearing that, you know, like, he loves me so he chastises me, like, it sounds negative when really it's not. Like, it just really depends on like the person you are. Like, if you're someone that like kind of like breaks under pressure, then like I get it, you know. Like, that passage might just not be for you, but like it helps me. It's like, I guess it's an on the fence verse for me. Like, you know, like sometimes I don't feel like certain things are fair, so, you know, it's a nice thing to have in the back of my head. Like, well, everything that I do in terms of fitness or spiritual growth, physical growth, mental, you know, like all these challenges are meant to help me in the long run, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna just get to it. I'm gonna stop procrastinating this run. I'm gonna get into it, and I hope everyone has a good day. Bye.